Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Long time no see. I should probably welcome myself back to this channel because I've been gone a really long while. And that is due to life throwing some very horrible curveballs at me. And yeah, I was in no mental state to be making videos or anything else for that matter. But I'm a little bit better. Life moves on, and I just want to get back into the routine of my old life. Well, not old, but pre-disaster. So yeah, I am back with another video. I'm not gonna say that I hope to be consistent this time because I don't think I'm gonna be, but I'm gonna keep trying anyways. And yeah, let's just dive into the video. As you can probably tell from the title, today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I've read so far in 2022. So I guess this is like a January, February wrap up, sort of. I've actually read quite a bit. My rating's been great this year so far, and I'm actually able to listen to audiobooks at work, which is fantastic. So making a lot of progress through my never-ending TBR. So the first book that I actually started and finished in 2022 is Zodiac Academy: The Reckoning by Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. I actually do not own a copy of this book, so I'm just gonna put a cover somewhere. I basically started this series back in December because I don't know why. I just picked it up on a whim. I kind of saw the title going around and being talked about, and I was like, why not? I'm into astrology. I like the zodiac, so why not just give this a shot and see what it is? And I basically binged the first three books back to back, which is not something I do very often. I used to, but I do not do that anymore. I guess I'm gonna review like the first three books as a whole, even though I only read the third book in 2022, but it's like all one big book in my head, so it doesn't really matter. So essentially the first book is like very bully heavy, like a lot of bullying and a lot of public humiliation, which was very triggering and made me very uncomfortable. But I pulled through because a lot of people said that the bullying gets less and less and less with each book, and that is true. Like the second book was still, there was still quite a lot of bullying, but it wasn't as bad. And then the third book was like even better. So you're essentially following these two twins that live in the mortal normal world, and one day someone comes and whisks them up in this like magical fairy realm, and turns out they're like these lost heirs to the kingdom, and they have like elemental power, and they can shift into like a magical creature. And basically you follow them around as they try and learn about the world, the new world that they're in, and try and learn about their powers. And yeah, essentially at the start they don't want their throne, they just want their inheritance, because in the mortal world they were basically orphaned and had a very rough life. So all they want is the money, but people don't seem to understand that, and there's very like different rules in the fairy realm. So you just kind of basically follow along with that. Not gonna go any deeper into the plot because then I'd start spoiling stuff, but that's essentially it. I don't remember what star rating I gave any of these books, so I'm just gonna put them on the screen because I will check later, because I'm never prepared for these videos. I don't do notes, never prepared, and I don't remember off the top of my head. So we're just gonna roll with it. The next book I read in, well, technically finished, I didn't start it in 2022. I started it in November and read like half of it in 2021, and then the other half, like, I took a long break and then read the other half in January. So the book that I'm talking about is The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This thing is massive. And it technically should count as two books because this is legit two books in one. Like, it's not actually two books in one, but it's the size of two books. So, this is like one of the most epic fantasies out there, or at least supposedly. The first book, let me tell you, it is very, 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 very slow. It is so slow. Oh my god, reading this was like trudging through mud, trying to walk through mud up to your knees. It is that slow, at least to me. I don't know, maybe I'm just not used to reading this kind of stuff, so it just felt too complicated. I don't know. God, I don't even know where to begin explaining this. So you start off with a book with this farmer, Rand Althor, and essentially something happens, and then he and his friends need to go follow this witch of sorts into this huge adventure trying to get away from the Dark Lord or something like that. So that is like the vaguest synopsis of this book you will ever hear. It is much, much, much deeper than that and way more complicated. And because it's so complicated, I wouldn't even know how to begin explaining it. But you can definitely look the synopsis up yourself if you're interested. There's also an Amazon Prime adaptation TV show of the first book, as far as I'm aware, so you can definitely go watch that as well. I have watched the first episode and it's quite different. But okay. I will continue watching the show. So, if memory serves right, I gave this book a 3, maybe 3.5 stars. I didn't hate it, despite how slow it was, but I didn't like love it either. I will continue with the series, definitely. Like, I've grown too attached to the characters not to continue, and to be honest, I kind of miss them already. And you can just tell that this book is going to be, well, not the book, the series is going to be absolutely mind-blowingly epic. It's going to be epic. And this first book barely scratches the surface. Like, it's this big and it doesn't even scratch the surface. It just like sprinkles some seeds for the big tree that is going to be the story. So yeah. Also, another thing I wanted to note about the series is that it's so similar to Lord of the Rings. At least the movies, not the books, because I have not read the books yet, but it is painfully similar to Lord of the Rings, especially like parts of it are like almost copy paste from the movie. I don't think that was intentional because obviously the movie came out after this book did, but maybe it's that similar to the book itself. That was not my favorite part. If you can overlook that, then that's great, and eventually like the story goes in its own way and like stops being as similar the more you keep reading. So that is something to keep a note of. The next book I read was The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith, and I believe I listened to this on audio. This book was slightly disappointing, but mostly because it's my fault. I went into this completely blind. Completely blind. It's not a bad book per se, it's just not what I expected because I didn't know what to expect, but I saw witch in the title, so I thought, it's gonna be like a super witchy book, but it isn't. It does have magic, however, and like a sort of witches. I believe it takes place in the 1910s decade. Well, it doesn't span the whole decade, but it's at the start, and you start off the story with this girl who has lost her brother and her mother is in an asylum due to said loss, and she works in this tailor shop, and essentially one day something happens and her magical powers are awakened, and then she gets scooped off to this magical school sanctuary of sorts, and then there she finds sisterhood, but also there's a boy involved, and the story just progresses from there. It was quite interesting, but a little bit underwhelming, I believe. I couldn't tell you exactly what's wrong with this book because there's inherently nothing wrong with it. It's like not a bad book. It just underwhelmed me because I feel like I've read so many witch books and I'm still reading so many witch books because it's my favorite thing to read about. This just didn't reach up to like my standard of witchery. But nonetheless, Still a pretty good book, and I read it, so yeah. If it does sound like something you'd be interested in, then definitely give it a shot, but I don't think this was like for me. It wasn't. The next book I read, I do not own a copy, and that is because it's an e-arc of A Far Wilder Magic by Alison Zaft. I was very excited to read this book. It was like one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I already pre-ordered the book, of course, and I was very excited when I got approved for the e-arc from NetGalley. I don't remember how many stars I gave it. I think I gave it like a 4 stars. But yeah, this book, again, went into it kind of blind. I don't know why I was attracted to it. It was interesting and unusual. It has a lot of alchemy in the story, so like alchemy plays a very big part in the plot line. So essentially, you follow two characters. One of them is this girl whose mother is like a very renowned alchemist, but she has gone away and just sort of forgotten her daughter and just left her to take care of the household and just take care of herself. And the second character that you meet is this boy who essentially wants to be an accredited alchemist, but he cannot get accredited because no one wants to teach him. Like, no alchemist wants to teach him because he has like difficulties learning, but he's also like an immigrant in the land that we read about, and there's a lot of like racial prejudice and bigotry against that in the story, which I liked that it touched upon this topic. It also touched upon religious bigotry because, like, a lot of the characters have different religions that are inspired by, I think one of them is inspired by Jews, one of them by Catholics, and the other by Protestants. But don't take my word for it. Yeah, essentially in the story, these two characters meet and they sort of enter this competition to hunt like this magical fox that's like a demigod of sorts, and it's the last of its kind, and stuff happens after that. I'm not gonna say any more because then I'm just gonna talk about the entire book, but it's really cool concept. The story is unique, the characters are super lovable, and the book just generally does touch upon some interesting topics, and I really liked it, and I definitely want to read more from this author. I know they don't have a lot of books out. I believe there's one more book out by them, and then another one coming next year. So very excited for that. Next up, I listened to an audiobook of which I don't own the copy. And you might be thinking, why are you reading books that you don't own a copy of? Aren't you supposed to be tackling your TBR? Well, yes, but also I'm impulsive, and this one I actually read for a book club, and it's like this booktubers in Glasgow kind of book club, and this is the first pick. We haven't discussed it yet. We're supposed to like meet up at the end of February and talk about the book, so I kind of like just read it too fast, but that's not a problem because at least I was on time. I've never been part of a book club before, so I'm excited, and I still haven't mentioned what book it is. So the book is Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I believe I gave this one originally like a 3.5, but it's more like a 3 stars. Can't say I didn't enjoy the book. Like, I did enjoy while I listened to it, but also I don't think I liked the book. Like, I feel like it's sort of pretentious. I don't know, maybe this is just an unpopular opinion because it's a very much a loved book, and the sun decided to come out. That's lovely. So yeah, this is a very beloved book, I believe. A lot of people tend to love Sally Rooney's books. I haven't read anything else by her, but I've been recommended her books quite a lot. I believe this is like a try-hard literary fiction, pretentious discussions about like whatever topics and unnecessary graphic sex in the book. Essentially, in the book, you kind of follow like these two best friends that kind of live a bit far away from each other, and it's also set in Ireland, and you mostly follow both like their lives respectively, but you also read the emails that they write to each other in which they discuss like random topics that adds nothing to the plot, and the plot doesn't exist actually, so you just kind of like follow them randomly in their lives. and it's about essentially them finding themselves and love in the world. And um, I feel like there are way better books with this kind of theme out there, like, you know, finding love, or like finding yourself, or like finding beauty in the world. Like, I can see where the appeal is with this book, but I don't think it was for me. It just felt pretentious and try hard. I don't know, maybe I'm just judging it too hard, but next up, I read two graphic novels, and those are The Hidden Witch and The Midnighter Witch by Molly Knox Ostertag. So these are the second and third graphic novel in the Witch Boy trilogy of graphic novels. So these were super adorable, literally makes your heart melt from cuteness. I believe I gave them both 5 stars because there's nothing wrong with them. They're perfect. I read the first graphic novel last year and I just never continued, and I thought I'd just continue now because why not? These graphic novels are essentially about the witch boy whose name is Aster, and in this world, it's like the mortal world, but there's witches and shapeshifters. In this world, there are magical families that have magical abilities and they tend to stay hidden from the mortals, like people don't know that magic exists. And we follow this boy who is a part of this family, and essentially all men and boys shapeshift and all girls, women are witches and do magic. And Aster wants to be a witch and not a shifter, and we basically follow the story as he tries to be a witch and tries to convince people that it's okay to be a witch and not a shifter. And it talks a lot about friendship and acceptance, and it's a very diverse graphic novel series, and it's super adorable with some amazing messages, and overall is just like a 10 out of 10. There's nothing wrong with it. Please read them. If you haven't read The Witch Boy or you haven't heard of it, go pick yourself up a copy from a store or a library or whatever and just read them. Do yourself a favor. And the last book I read in 2022, which I actually finished recently, is The Ghost Tree by Christina Henry. This one I listened on audio at work and it was so good. I believe I gave this one a 5 stars as well, and I remember because it was recent. Essentially, this is horror, and Christina Henry mostly writes like horror, creepy, eerie stories, which are not like super amazing or unique or whatever, but I just love this author's writing so much. It just literally sucks me into the story and I forget where I am. I am in the story, I am next to the characters, living everything they live. I am in there, I'm in the book. That's why I love Christina Henry's books so much. And like I mentioned before in my past videos, I want to read everything by her, and I will. Slowly, I will. I'm making my way through the books. So essentially, this book is like creepy small town vibes. Something weird is happening. Girls are dying, but why and who is killing them? And there's something to do with a tree which is called the ghost tree in the story, and that tree's like really creepy and everyone's weirded out by these woods except the main character. I'm not gonna say anymore because I will spoil. I believe it's best to go into this book not knowing anything, just like getting the vibe from it. And it's also set in the 80s, I believe, so it's like 80s small town vibes. And since it's set in the 80s, just wanted to mention that there's like some racial prejudice moments in here. There's like a very mean character, like she's a bigot, but aside from that, the book is great. Yeah, loved it, would definitely recommend. Very creepy. It's just an overall good book. Also a little bit of a coming of age feel to it as well. And those were all the books that I've read so far in 2022, but alas, I am not done talking because I'd like to mention the books that I'm currently reading as well. I'm actually in the middle of 3 books, which is preposterous, but what to do. I am an indecisive person and I mood read. So one of the books that I'm currently in the middle of is Zodiac Academy 4 Shadow Princess, and I'm not too far into this book. I believe I'm like 200 pages into the book, and of course, we follow immediately after book three. It is interesting. However, one of the twins are a bit annoying. But aside from that, I'm not gonna say anything else. So far, I'm enjoying it, and I don't know when I'm gonna finish this book because it's massive, and I know that every book in the series gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, but they read quite fast and quite easy, so I'll probably finish it soon enough. And the next book I am in the middle of is Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness, and this is the second book in the Discovery of Witches series. I have put this off long enough, and I have finally started reading it. I'm not very far into it because this is a very, very, very slow book, just like the first one. They are excruciatingly slow, but they're still interesting. This book has quite a different setting from the first one, and I have no idea where the story is going towards so far. Like, I know where it's supposed to go, but it doesn't feel like it's gonna go there. And clearly, because it's so big, I mean, something has to happen in the middle, am I right? So far, not like crazy about it. I'm not super into it because it's just so different and I'm not liking the vibe. But I don't know. I'm excited to continue. I mean, I will finish the series and I also want to watch the TV show because the first season was, oh my goodness, so good. But this is gonna take a while, just like the first one did. Like, it took me, I don't even know how many months to read the first one, so I don't suspect I'm gonna finish this anytime soon. I'm just gonna slowly make my way through it. The next book I am listening to actually is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. And this book, I don't know why I put off starting this book for so long, but it is so good. Oh my goodness. And the audiobook is pretty good as well. I've been getting very into audiobooks clearly lately. The writing is like so good, and I am deep enough into the story so I can tell you what it actually is about. So essentially, you follow these three sisters who sort of have like magical powers, but then again, like in this world, anyone can have magical powers with the right ingredients and with the right like willpower and mindset, I guess. So it's set during the like suffragettes era, and there's definitely suffragettes in the story, and you follow these three sisters who have had quite a rough childhood, and they sort of got separated along the way in life and just went on their own path, and they meet again later in life in New Salem, and essentially they sort of make their own suffragettes group, but like suffragette witches, you know? Like they want to fight for gender equality and like for women having power and the same as men and whatnot, but like it involves magic. And that's essentially what the story is about. It's pretty cool. I love the setting. I love the way the magic is portrayed here. It's like this old school kind of magic. Is not just like, oh, you say a couple of words and there's like sparkles out of my fingers. Like, I don't know, you thread a needle upside down or something and say some words and then like some magic happens. Like stuff like that. I don't know. It's like it feels old school and ancient, and it just feels more akin to actual like real world Wicca and magic and stuff. And I'm liking that. Very much love the setting as well, and like the message and like the whole sisterhood thing and them trying to like find their way back to each other. Like so far, so good. And the writing, again, as I said, is like so good. Love the writing. We'll definitely be reading more from this author. And last but not least, I am listening to finally listening to Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare, and I am holding up this copy because I got rid of my normal copy, like your average basic copy, because I want to get the paperback, and that doesn't come out till September. So holding one of these ones up. So I'm like this far into it. I started it yesterday during work. So this is like my work audio, and the other book is like my home audio. So far, I am enjoying it way, 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 way more than Chain of Gold. I don't know if I'm prepared going into it, like I know what to expect, or if I'm like better acquainted with the characters compared to like Chain of Gold. I just couldn't keep track of who was who. I don't know why. I've never struggled with that before. I don't know if it's like maybe the audio that's like helping me enjoy the book better. Whatever it is, I'm not complaining. Definitely loving this so much better than Chain of Gold, and I'm glad because I don't want to have to read a series that is like this big and not like it. Doesn't make sense. So yeah, very much enjoying it so far. I'll probably like finish it soon enough because I make a lot of progress through books at work. I actually put off reading this for so long because I didn't enjoy Chain of Gold, and finally decided to pick it up. I'm glad. I'm glad because Chain of Thorns is coming out soon enough. Like the months are gonna pass by like that. So I want to be prepared. I want to be ready for the book because I don't know, Cassandra Clare. I always keep up with her stuff, so why not? So with that, we conclude all the books that I've read and slash currently reading in 2022 so far. I can't believe it's 2022. It feels weird saying it. Too many twos. That's a tongue twister there. But yeah, I am being blinded by the light. I'm trying to like not cry because it's too bright in here. I'm glad to be back on BookTube. Hopefully I'm gonna stay here and hopefully expect some more videos from me soon. I kind of made a plan in my head on how to be like more consistent. Hopefully it works and I can stay productive and not just procrastinate and lay in bed and be a sad blob. So yeah, we shall see. I make no promises. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon in another one. Goodbye.